G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another one of my EV realist videos. In this series I seek to inject a little bit of sanity into the frenzied and fevered minds of our governments around the world. So if you like this kind of content, it would be great if you'd subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more videos. So in this one we're going to look at how the demand for EVs around the world has just stalled, and this is what you might call a perfect storm of different economic drivers and other factors that have just caused people to really rethink whether they want to commit to purchasing an EV right now, including the state of the global economy, which is pretty terrible at the moment, the outright cost of buying an EV, which is so much more than an internal combustion engine car, and also things like price cuts. Manufacturers will often, randomly cut their prices. Tesla has been doing this, so you don't know if you go into a Tesla dealership and buy a car today that it's not going to be $5,000 cheaper tomorrow. And I think people are becoming a little bit more wary of diving in to the deep end of EV ownership. So the article today is from the Chicago Tribune. It's a very interesting article. The middle class is not buying electric vehicles as hoped. What happened? Automakers are now learning an important lesson. Not all car buyers are wealthy environmentalists. Correct. This should be obvious, but apparently isn't, which is why the auto industry is now wringing its hands over electric vehicle sales problems. General Motors, Ford, Mercedes, Nissan, Toyota, and even Tesla have raised red flags about slowing demand. GM scaled back plans for 2024 and said it would delay the opening of a new electric truck factory. Ford is considering cutting shifts at its F-150 Lightning plant. Nissan is transferring more resources to hybrids rather than EVs. Mercedes has described the EV market as brutal. And Toyota's chairman, Akio Toyoda, said last week that people are finally seeing the reality of EVs. The problem, it seems, is that the so-called next wave of EV buyers isn't cooperating. The EV is not trickling down, at least not for those prospective buyers. But this should have been obvious. It certainly was for Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning, founders of Tesla Motors. In a now well-known tale, Eberhard and Tarpenning in 2003 gathered consumer data for their nascent company by driving up and down the streets of the wealthy suburb of Palo Alto, California, and peering into driveways to see what kind of cars the suburbanites owned. What they found, tucked between the $2 million homes, was Priuses. Many of the driveways contained one luxury car and one Prius, which was the environmental darling of the day. So they'd see a Porsche and a Prius, or a BMW and a Prius, or a Lexus and a Prius. Economists have since identified this phenomenon. They call it conspicuous conservation, a wrinkle on Thorstein Veblen's century-old theory of conspicuous consumption. The idea is that some modern consumers purchase products as a way of displaying their green virtue. Wow, I could have said it myself. In 2003, Eberhard and Tarpenning couldn't have known the term conspicuous conservation, but they had the wisdom to understand what they were seeing. Environmentalism had come to the doorstep of the wealthy. Thus, they concluded, they could sell electric cars to the affluent, and they believed the EV would eventually trickle down to the middle class. And what a surprise, this just isn't happening right now. The EV is not trickling down to the middle class. It's still the preserve of wealthy environmentalists. Middle-class consumers have always had many reasons for buying cars. They need their vehicles to go to work, to grandma's, to college, and to go on vacation. They need them for all these things, and yet they need them to be inexpensive. What they don't need is a costly second car, and too often EVs have become just that. And EV's initial cost is still too high, and its practicality too low, especially for the less affluent. EVs are just impractical and too expensive for most people. A combination of uncertainty about pricing, resale values, the second-hand market for EVs is terrible. Whether there's going to be new models with new technology coming out soon. People are just holding on to their money and buying a cheap ICE car rather than taking the plunge and buying an EV. And I think that's going to be a problem for a long time. Anyway, that's just about it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you've got any tips, you can hit me up on Instagram or by email. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.